She founded an architectural concrete company.
He founded a $100 million clothing company.
She took the world by storm as a social media star.
He took the world by storm as a famous serial entrepreneur.
Together we started a business.
And had babies.
Now we're figuring out the best ways to do both.
Join us as we learn from other entrepreneurs going through the same life struggles.
As they share their life hacks about success, love, kids,
and everything in between.
Welcome to the Pretty and Punk Podcast. My name is Dan Caldwell.
And I'm Ildiko Ferenczi.
And we have another great Pretty and Punk Podcast interview. I'm really excited about this one, actually, because this guy is a friend of mine, and he comes from the business that I used to work in mixed martial arts. And what I think I like about him most is that in this business, it's hard for, it just like in the NBA or football, that after you get done fighting, you have to figure out what you're going to do with your life. And nobody wants to go back to working a 9-to-5 job. It hasn't been in their DNA for however long they've been fighting, and now they just don't want to go back.
Yeah.
And it makes it hard, and especially in the MMA space, because there's not as much money in it. And so this guy has just been really a student of what it takes to be an entrepreneur, and he asks questions, and he's always looking to different opportunities, and he's really done some good stuff. And so I think that's why I'm really excited about this interview. And
he's a dad now.
I know.
Surprise, surprise.
And
How cool
I knew
is
he'd
that?
be a great dad.
Yeah.
Because he just has such a great personality. When he announced that he was going to be a father, I just thought, the first thing I wrote to him on Instagram was, this guy's going to be you're going to be a great dad.
He just glows different now.
Yeah. And what he has to say about being a dad, I just truly love his take on it.
Yeah, I can't wait to interview him and talk to him about that. Like, how is this journey of evolving for him? Like being a dad and an entrepreneur and still fighting.
Yeah. And
that's insane.
And what's really hard to do, right, is to do all that and keep your concentration and still be a good dad and a good spouse.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a great interview. So without further ado.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. Today's guest is a UFC Hall of Fame inductee, widely regarded as one of MMA's pioneers and its first superstar in the lighter weight divisions, helping to establish its legitimacy. He was an NCAA national qualifier for wrestling at UC Davis, where he graduated with a bachelor's degree in human development. Wow. He started his MMA career in 2003, and 17 years later, he is still fighting the best fighters in the UFC division today. What many may not know about him is that he is also an entrepreneur who co-founded the clothing brand Form Athletics that was acquired by American footwear giant K-Swiss in 2010. Our guest also founded the clothing line Alpha Male along with his fight team Alpha Male that trains out of the gym that he owns, Ultimate Fitness. He's an actor, a film producer who just released his latest film by director Gerard Roxburgh, Green Rush, available now on iTunes. Today he's working on a new app. He's investing in real estate. He has a new movie in the pipeline and a new baby boy on the way. Whoop, whoop. Mm-hmm. Engaged to his amazing fiancée, Jazlyn, and raising their beautiful, she's so beautiful, 17-month-old daughter, Callie. We are excited to welcome, do you want to take this?
The California kid, Urijah
Faber. Woo!
Hey, Urijah, good to have you on, brother. Nice talking to you. It's been a while.
Thanks for having me, man.
Let's just jump right into it. Yeah.
He's a busy dad juggling it. So let's go.
So everybody knows a lot about your UFC career. Let's go back to how kind of the beginning of your life, how you became the California kid.
I had a pretty unique upbringing. I was born to two hippie Christian parents out in Santa Barbara in a house. Isla Vista, actually, the ghetto by the sea, they call it, a little college town next to the UC Santa Barbara. Life was good for me. They're part of like a radical Christian group at the time. It was all about like celebration and health food, and they were like young, new, in love, and it was my brother and I, and just basically ran around naked by the beach, and was about good energy. And I was for the first couple 3 years or so of my life. And we eventually ended up moving into Sacramento, which became my longtime home, and we didn't have a lot of money growing up, but had a lot of love. My parents got divorced when I was, I think, in kindergarten. My mom was, a model and working at Nordstrom and hustling. And my dad was a carpenter, kind of party animal at the time, and a good guy all around. So I split time between my parents and was always busy. When I was a young kid, I was doing modeling and acting, and I was playing sports, and I was split time between both my parents and doing school. So I've always kind of been a busy guy that's juggled a lot of things. And although things weren't perfect, they seemed perfect to me.
That's awesome. So, hon, what influenced you to become a fighter? Like, where did that come about?
I don't know if it's, me choosing to be a fighter or fighting choosing me. It's one of those things that like just appealed to me from a young age. My first watching fighting as a fan was real young. My neighbor used to have all the fights. We'd go watch all the big boxing matches, and I'd already been a big football fan. I was a big 49ers fan, and felt like my role models were all those football players. I was playing roller hockey, and I was like the enforcer as a little kid. I was just someone that enjoyed contact and enjoyed things that were intense. And so it's kind of a natural progression. I watched my brother wrestle when he was in the junior high, and I knew it was something that I wanted to do. As soon as I got the chance, I jumped on the wrestling bandwagon, and I think in the 8th grade was my first full year of wrestling, and just never stopped from there.
Oh, wow.
Everybody knows you're a fighter, but I think what a lot of people don't know about you is that I feel like you have the entrepreneurial bug too. You've had a clothing company, and you have your gym, and you're a real estate investor, and now you're doing movies and producing movies. Where did that bug come from? Who was that influence? Because not everybody just becomes an entrepreneur.
Like, how'd you fall into that all? That's wild.
I think probably, and you guys know because you're entrepreneurs as well, it's a little bit of fearlessness, understanding that, if you have an idea and you're not afraid to go try it, that's one thing. I think another thing is my family. My dad was a carpenter, but ended up being a contractor. So he was always kind of making his own schedule. I was used to that. My parents, when I was in the 7th grade, had their first business. My mom and my stepdad, it was a family-owned little coffee shop, like a 400-foot coffee shop. Before that, my mom had worked for Nordstrom, and my stepdad had worked for the city of Rockland. And it was kind of the first eye-opener of, we were having not much money, and all of a sudden, we ran this little business with a great culture and great products, and kind of changed our lives. So all of a sudden, we had a little bit more, started buying some little fixer-upper properties, and we work on that as a family. And meanwhile, my dad was he was bidding jobs and working for himself, and so I kind of got to see that and knew that it was something that I was pretty used to, but also not afraid of. It wasn't like I ever was worried about like, what am I going to do for a job or this, that. I was always just like, I'll be okay. I'm just going to do what I want. First business that I started was right out of college. It was called TLC, Top of the Line Coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
It was basically, I went and got a fictitious business name statement. I just went to the city and found out how to do it. The internet wasn't like a thing where you could look up everything and figure out how to do stuff. So I just went to the city. I got a business license for like $14, and I got a fictitious business name statement, and I had to publish it in a little newspaper.
Yep.
Cool.
And what happened was, I was working at UC Davis at the time as a wrestling coach. I just graduated college, and I was making $7,000 a year as a wrestling coach, which was well below the poverty line, even in 2003.
Absolutely.
And I was coaching kids, and I was doing wrestling camps in the summer in fun places like Squaw Valley and like little towns like Escalon and that kind of stuff. Started to fight a little bit. I made $200 my first fight. I started selling t-shirts around the same time, alpha male t-shirts. And it was like just making ends meet, being a hustler and doing my own thing. My coach at the time at UC Davis let me run his wrestling camp through my business. So I was going to get paid like $2,000 or $3,000 or maybe a little less than that out of the whole thing. But I had like $40,000 run through my account for my business. So all of a sudden it looked like I had a real booming business.
Right.
It's really just like, hey, let me run it through my business. And that allowed me to buy my first house when anybody could get a loan. I had a business with a degree in coaching. So my business was kind of like a 2-year work history because I had school for 2 years. I just started finding creative ways to make shit work. And that's where the entrepreneurship came from.
Oh, that's great. So I know right now in your life, I see you doing the movie and now, and you're still in the fight game, still deep in the fight game. You're just coming off of a fight last year or 2 fights last year, I think. Where do you feel like's pulling you more right now? Where's your allegiance or what's waking you up in the morning?
Basically, and we'll get into this with the parenting thing, but it's all about being able to manage my own time, and that's like my motivation. When people used to ask what's your motivation for fighting, like how do you get up and keep pushing on this long career, like my motivation was freedom, freedom of my time and my thought process and who I surround myself with and everything else. That's what fighting and entrepreneurship does for me, and especially now with the kid, it's even more so. I love all of it, and I love that it goes together. Fighting's opened so many doors for me, and I've learned so much through the process, through people that I've met, through hard lessons where I've done stupid things, and good lessons where things have worked out.
Yeah.
And so my allegiance right now is anything that's fun for me. Making movies is fun. And you know that, Dan. We've talked a lot about this.
Yep.
I love real estate still. My dad was a contractor and a carpenter my whole life. And we've done like a bunch of fixer-uppers on my mom's side. And
yeah.
So I'm really growing the real estate portfolio still. And I have an interest in the fight game. I own the team. I own a couple gyms. I manage some guys. I have clothing stuff that I've done, and that's been an ongoing thing since I started in the game. But the movie stuff's been interesting. It's been a lot of fun because there's a lot of similarities to the fight game. Actually, it's about jockeying your way up and attachments and really good quality stuff has to be the genesis of it all. It can't be just like if I'm a good fighter that's good looking but I can't fight, that doesn't matter. It's like that. If I got the money and this with a script that's shitty, it doesn't matter. You have to have a great script, and then you have to get someone attached. Like the director we have attached for the next film is a big time director. Then it comes to getting the right talent attached, and real talented artists aren't going to do something that doesn't speak to them. There's guys that are selling out that are like the fighters are just fighting to get their ass kicked.
Yeah.
There's actors like that, but like the real guys like Shia LaBeouf and the actors that take it really serious, they're not going to get onto something unless it really speaks to them. I just love learning the business side of all this stuff.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is exciting for sure.
Okay, so before jumping ahead, so you've got all this stuff under your belt, your fights, you're a champion, being on TV shows, your movies. When did you meet Jazlyn? I want to get to that.
It's actually pronounced Jazlyn.
Jazlyn.
Say.
Jazlyn. We were arguing about that, and he's like, no,
sorry.
it's Jazlyn.
I'm sorry. That was misspelling.
Jazlyn. Got it now.
So we met actually in LA maybe 6 years ago. We were at like an influencer party in Hollywood, and I was there with my buddy who was actually one of the stars of my first film that we did, The Green Rush. I had just met him randomly at my apartment, like within that year. That's Mike Foy, and we were there. A bunch of his friends were there doing like the influencers at the time. It was what's the one that's like 7 seconds? It was not Snapchat, but like
Vine.
Vine.
Yeah, that was huge for a minute.
Yeah, it was like a Vine party where there's all these influencers, and Jazlyn was there. And Jazlyn was a Northern California girl. So she's like, we had actually run across each other in Tahoe back when she was like a senior in high school.
No way. That's awesome.
I remember a friend saying like, oh, that's Urijah Faber, this and that. So when she came up to me, she said, oh, you're from Northern California. I'm from Northern California. And I was like, and then so we started BSing a little bit. There's a real kinship with Northern California people, especially out in LA, because it can be a heartless place, LA.
Right.
And Northern California kind of has a soul.
Yeah.
And so she's like relieved to see someone from NorCal. And she said that she remembers that her friends were all excited to see me up in Tahoe. I said, oh, that's funny. I said, well, when you come back, I got the gym, hit me up. And so we stayed in touch as friends for a long time. Just cordial, keeping in contact. When she would have some advice, ask some advice from me here and there, and I give her like real advice, just basic stuff about work or even about guys, that kind of thing.
That's how we started too. That's great.
Yeah, and then coming back and moving back to Sacramento a couple years later, and it was probably about a year or so. I think I was in a relationship at the time before we actually started dating.
And then,
cool.
and so you got to tell us how baby Callie came about.
Well, so your relationship is going well, and all of a sudden, boom, you guys find out you're pregnant. Like, what was that like for you and for her? I know for us, we're like, what?
We had a big surprise. It was a big surprise for us.
It was like the best, because for years, I didn't think I could get pregnant. So it was like the craziest thing ever. So I love to hear everybody's experience. Like, what was it like for you guys?
Jazlyn had joked at one point as we were friends that we should do a co-parenting thing. Like, kind of laughed it off. I was like, yeah, I'm down, whatever. Just joking in conversation. That was before we were actually dating. I'm getting older when it comes to the parenting thing. And so
you don't look it, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm 41. It's crazy.
What?
I know.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's why he'll always be the California
kid. We gotta ask you
kid.
like beauty secrets and like health secrets later, but
it's a smile. It's because he's always smiling.
No,
I think that does a lot for you.
He knows some stuff. He's probably like doing the ice.
I don't ever smile, so it ages me.
Okay,
I'm getting grays.
He's telling us. He's telling.
How can you smile if your nickname's Punk Ass?
I know.
You gotta stay in character.
I know. I try to always stay in character, but it gives me gray hairs.
I want to hear what it was like. I want to hear. I want to
Okay.
I love this.
Trying to have a baby, and I like put it off, and she's, we're finally like saying, hey, let's try.
Yeah.
So it only took about, I think the first month we thought for sure it was going to be a hole in one, and then the second month we like stopped checking ovulation and doing that kind of stuff.
You just let nature take its place.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's great.
So I was on a trip traveling. I was sitting next to someone on an airplane, and Jazlyn's like, hey, are you alone? And I was saying no. And I'm on the plane, and she's like, well, can you call me real quick? And I said, I can't. My phone's like it was being weird. I could only text. And I said, she's like, well, try to call me. And I said, I can't really call. She's like, it's important. And I go, okay. So I borrowed my neighbor's phone that I didn't know on the plane, and I called her, and she like told me she was pregnant. So I was all excited, and we were both pretty pumped up. I couldn't believe it. I just shared it with my neighbor. I was like, man, I had to tell somebody, So I was like, man, I just found out we're having a baby, and it was pretty exciting from there on. We took it real serious, doing all the research, and then it was a blessing all the way through. She actually had a pretty easy pregnancy that first time. This last one's been nuts, but that was the first one, and Callie coming into our lives was such a blessing, man. It's been so much fun.
Oh, I know. She's absolutely adorable.
Beautiful.
We were just looking at her pictures today. We're like, she's smiling in every picture. She does such a great, photogenic. She's so photogenic.
So I mean, now that we're on to that, that's what I was going to say is like, you're this scary fighter that everybody fears. And I saw this clip of you, and you've got the baby, and there's this other side of you that I've never seen before. Like I know you have a good heart and you're a good person, but there was just this different energy. And, there's this tough, strong guy, and he's with this baby, and you're so gentle and soft, and just your connection with her. It's like you've had years of fatherhood under your belt. I feel like when she was born, a new side of you was born. I mean, do you agree? Like, can you tell us about
how's
him?
fatherhood change you?
Yeah, how has it changed you? Because I mean, it was beautiful to see that. You were so involved.
I've always been a big guy when it comes to goals, and at the top of my goals was always, have a healthy, happy family.
Mm-hmm.
I'm business driven and I'm fight driven and, focused on success. And so time is clicking by,
Mm-hmm.
but I've been ready to have a kid. I've always been excited about that. I was a human development major in college. So that's what I studied, was from the womb until death, and like about basically how to raise and how to be in someone's lives like that. So I couldn't wait to get that thing done. I mean, I already had a book written for her before she was born. I've got like,
God.
5, she's got her own 5 singles that her own songs, their name in them. And
Oh my God.
Oh, it's awesome.
What a blessing.
And so it's just been fun. I mean, it really prioritizes things when you have, especially as a business guy who's an entrepreneur that's kind of scatterbrained, like throwing shit to the wall all the time, seeing what sticks. And it just makes you like negate all the stuff that doesn't matter and say, okay, these are the things that are going to work. This is going to spend my time on so I can, be there with my baby. And that was always the goal, was have a kid, have kids when I'm ready to spend all my time with them. And that's kind of what I've done.
That's where your priorities have changed. I love that.
And I know you still have a lot going on, and being a father isn't easy. Being a fighter isn't easy.
No.
Being an entrepreneur isn't easy. Being in a relationship isn't easy. What do you do right now to cope with all of that? Because I know they all need attention. So how are you coping with all that?
Biggest thing for me is the surrounding cast. As you know, like, good people are hard to find. So I've been really lucky to keep people in my lives that have proven, that they're loyal and that see the bigger picture and stuff like that. I've got a really great support group with my family, and then the people that I surround myself with. Tommy and Candy Sherkamp are 2 of my right, left hand. They're a married couple. I've known him since high school. I've got guys on my team, coaches that help out with the team, that have been with me for over a decade, and my lawyers and my financial advisors. Adam Tirapelli, he was a guy that I knew of in high school, and he was an All-American wrestler, and I knew his family, and just surrounding myself with the best people and really figuring out where the real opportunities are and how to spend my time doing it. And then just like anything, you have to work really, really hard, especially when you're not in a 9-to-5, because the job may never end.
Yeah, that's right.
What's been the hardest thing about being a new dad and having all this stuff going on?
It's probably just, dealing with expectations within the household, because Jazlyn's a new mother, and especially, I don't know if you guys are up to date on exactly what happened, but we had Callie, and then shortly after that, I think maybe 7-8 months after, she was pregnant again, and then had an ectopic pregnancy where she had to have a fallopian tube. It was like a dangerous situation. She had emergency surgery and lost one of her fallopian tubes in the ectopic pregnancy. And so then she recovers from that. We get pregnant again.
Oh, man.
So it's literally like she's been pregnant for 2.5 years. And
Wow.
on top of that, she's got responsibilities in the house, and I'm traveling and doing business stuff. So
that's
balancing all that.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I'll sometimes feel bad if I'm leaving for 5 days or something, feel bad for Callie or this and that. And then you realize, like, she's such a secure baby. I mean, I could literally be gone for months and she'd come back and just be happy and fine. I mean, she may be sad here and there, but the quality time that I spent is more important than the quantity of the time, just like anything else. So that's what I've learned, is when I'm there, I'm present. I mean, she knows that she's got support. I've got my mom there, my brother, my sister, Jazlyn's family, and our friends that all help out. The surrounding cast is super important.
Yeah.
Yeah, being surrounded by good people and having that family, your family close to you too, because I know you're close with your family. And
thank God for that. That was really tough for us.
Yeah, it's hard because like we don't have our family close.
Only, but when we're in Canada. But thank God for that. Being pulled in all these different directions. How do you guys strengthen your relationship?
To be honest, it's always a struggle, because although we were friends, it wasn't like we were best friends. We was like acquaintances and in contact for years. So we did live together before we started trying to have the baby, and you just have to be proactive. We did a date night the other night, and Jazlyn has a book that's like something 8 dates. And so we had our first date there where it spurs conversation, and we read the the first date, they have a series of questions that get the conversations going and find out more about each other, and just being proactive. We've seen a couples counselor before, and just be proactive on making sure that we're, especially in difficult times, that we're doing the right things, because at the end of the day, relationships are hard, and
absolutely.
And especially when you bring a baby involved, and just
it gets more complex.
Try to make sure that the laughter is there. Jazlyn's really, really goofy.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah, that's good. And you always have a great smile on your face. So I'm sure you guys get along great as far as that goes. The new baby's a little boy, right?
Yeah. He's doing 7 weeks.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
That's so exciting.
So you're going to have a little boy and you have your little girl. What do you feel like is important that you're teaching your kids, or
for
how are you
parenting,
raising your kids?
Have you guys decided, or you guys are probably already implementing that. What do you feel is important, like parenting wise?
I'm like a forward thinker when it comes to, what we're trying to do with the baby. I like to get up with Callie in the morning and try to read to her. I've been trying to speak Spanish to her. We've been teaching her sign language. Make sure that she's around positive energy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest thing, in like, consistently being like upbeat and loving. But when it comes to parenting in general, it's going to be, for me, just a big support system. It's not going to be like making them do this, making them do that. Mm-hmm. My parents were like that. They would kind of see what I was interested in and then try to feed the fire.
Yeah.
And I want to do kind of the same thing. So right now, Callie, I've got her singing. We're always encouraging her to sing, and we dance a lot. She's really, really advanced when it comes to speech. She can pretty much try to say anything, put some words together and stuff at 17 months. So we're, or is it 17 months? I think. Yeah, 17 months now. Yeah. And so we're just trying to make sure she's staying active and getting the best food in her belly, and try to keep her stimulated.
That's fantastic. So you guys are paying extra attention. And as you mentioned before, when you guys were pregnant, you guys were eating different or just really healthy.
Yeah.
I wanted to hit on that.
Yeah. One of the things that's common with Jazz and I is just the health food stuff. I was raised like that, super unconventional the way I was raised when it comes to like the stuff that's put in your body. That's partially the reason I've been able to be an athlete for so long and feel like have some natural gifts is because of the way I was raised from the womb. That's part of it. And then making sure that, and I kind of feel like this was the way it was for me, almost treating the kids like adults, where you respect what they have to say and really listen to them, take into consideration that they're individuals and humans. You see it from the get-go, how individualized people are. And it's a nice mixture of discipline, because you have to discipline and they test boundaries and whatnot, and a lot of fun and a lot of love and support.
That's awesome. Yeah, we try to do that, implement a lot of that stuff, and having our kids eat well. Everybody's usually grossed out. Everybody we show, because our kids will eat everything. They eat everything from octopus to greens to green shakes and green juice, and they love it. And it's because they don't know any different, right? They don't have too much junk food because they've never been introduced to junk food.
And when you're pregnant, the way that you eat, you're already building
right, because she's a super healthy eater.
I just avoided anything that would cause problems down the road.
Artificial sugars or whatever. So tell us, are you excited to have a boy? Having a girl's awesome too, but it's got to be exciting for you to have a little boy.
Totally different. But both beautiful, totally incredible.
Yeah, we love them. We love them both for their own reasons.
Obviously.
But it has to be exciting to know that you were having one of each.
I was adamant that I was having a boy the first time around. Jazlyn was like, I think it's going to be a girl. And I said, your son's going to forgive you when you were born, when you called him a girl. And,
see, he manifested it. That's awesome.
And I know I manifested. I tried to manifest it. It didn't work. And I got Callie. And I wouldn't have it any other way. It's such a blessing, and I would have loved to have another girl. if that were the case, but it is going to be fun. And especially because, you envision, even though you don't have a real choice in what your kids do, you envision what they're going to be like and whatnot. And me being an athlete, I, always thought of having the athletic boy, but realizing she's an athlete. She's also a sweetheart. Who knows what she'll end up doing. It could be anything really.
It sounds like you're trying to introduce her to everything to try to find her passion and encourage that. That's what we're trying to do with our kids too. I totally feel
What if she wanted to be a fighter?
Well, at the end of the day, my mom didn't want me to be a fighter. I didn't even tell her.
I tell him, don't eat.
Yeah. Yeah. But I did not want her to be a fighter. But if that's the path that she decides she wants to take, I wouldn't hold her back. Right. I even question whether or not I'm going to get her into, martial arts. I feel like instinctually I really probably should, just because I want her to be safe and be able to defend herself and have that kind of confidence. But the other side, it's a hard life, man. It's not something you want to choose for somebody else. So I'll be supportive, but I don't think I'm going to push it. I think I'd rather push tennis, soccer.
Right. Right. Okay. So we always leave everybody with this question, and it's purely hypothetical. Life is short, and, we all want to live a long life with our kids and our family. If you were flying on an airplane and you were talking to your kids on the phone and the plane was going down and you had one bit of advice you could pass on to your kids, what would that advice be that you knew that was going to be the thing you were going to leave them with?
Probably something really cliche, which is surround yourself with great people, one, and then think big. Just remind them that anything really is possible. The bigger you think, the more you'll be able to accomplish. And that, all the other ingredients of success are important, but how big you're thinking and how big you're dreaming is the biggest thing.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Beautiful.
What are you working on right now? Is there anything we can tell our audience that you got going on? You got so much going on. It sounds like you have a new movie going on. You're obviously involved in UFC stuff still. You're coaching fighters. You're right now. You're getting ready to go into a fight. So what do you got going on right now that we can pass on to our audience?
Yeah.
So I'm working on this really cool platform that's going to be an online training, but it's also an application that's like a gamified application that allows people to stay super engaged and get the most out of it. That's going to be really cool. That'll be launching soon.
Oh, that's great. Perfect timing.
We've got an awesome movie called Art of the KO. Actually, financing just fell out. We had it fully financed, and I've got some great talent attached to that. It's an amazing script. It's about a 1920s circus, prize fighter.
Oh, that's awesome.
And a son that's dropped off at his doorstep. So that's a super cool project. I've got my team, which has been a lot of fun. We've got all these the new generation of fighters coming out.
Yeah.
And working on this acai. We've got a really cool, and I'll send you guys some.
Yeah.
Acai with my Brazilian jiu-jitsu instructor. We have the guy who owns the plantation in Brazil. It's the best acai in the world, which I've been looking for. And it's going to be called Cali acai after Cali.
Oh
yeah, that's beautiful.
So we'll be launching that here pretty soon as well.
What about plans to fight in the future?
The whole quarantine and having a pregnant wife at home kind of put things on a hold for a little bit. So I'm a little heavy at the moment.
Well, you looked incredible in your last fight. I mean, you were in like the best shape. You looked incredible. And besides being caught at that one, you were caught once, I think. And besides that, you looked amazing in your fight. And you were fighting what was he? He was a top 5 contender, wasn't he? In the bantam?
I had 2 fights. One I won very quickly at the fastest knockout of my career.
Right, that was great. Yep.
That was great. And then the second one was against the current world champion, Peter Yan.
Oh, yeah, he's champion now. Okay, that's great.
The world champion.
Yeah, that's incredible.
We had a good first round, and then he caught me in the second, and I actually got finished in the third. But that was a great fucking fight, man. I love that.
Yeah, it was. It was a great fight.
So at this point, I'm not opposed to taking a fight or two. Maybe after the baby's born,
right?
Have 2 fights while Callie's alive. Maybe have 2 fights when our boys arrive, and go from there.
Really good. Thanks for coming on, Uriah.
We got so many nuggets.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Play date. Our daughter is 2 months.
Yeah, she's the same age as your daughter.
Yeah. She's 2 months off of your baby.
Yeah. So. And where can people find you on Instagram?
Yeah. We'll get together and we'll talk some movie biz, talk some kid biz, and have some fun.
Yeah. Where can people find you on Instagram?
Just my name, Urijah Faber.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Urijah, for coming on. We love you, brother. I can't wait to see you again, and good luck in your fight tonight.
Take care. Awesome interview.
Okay, brother.
Thank you for all that gold.
Bye. Well, that was a great interview.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that Urijah took the time. I mean, I didn't know he had a fight tonight, or not him personally, but he's cornering a fighter. One of his fighters is fighting tonight, and I really appreciate him taking the time to jump on with us and give us all that great information. I mean, what a great dad. I really felt like you could feel...
Yeah, I love him as a dad.
I knew he'd be a great dad. Yeah. And to hear all that great information that
and a great husband.
Well, he's not fiance.
Sorry, fiance. Sorry.
I
just want to go to a wedding, okay? Come on.
I just think that that's the type of information we're looking to pass on to people.
Yeah, there was a lot of insight there.
And we should have another great interview next week. So we thank you guys all for jumping on. And if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to the podcast. And please leave a review. That would really help us out a lot.
And follow us on our social media.
Yeah, Pretty and Punk Podcast
on Instagram. Pretty and Punk on Twitter. And what else are we on?
Yeah, we're on all of them. And Facebook, Pretty and Punk.
Yeah, you'll find us. Anyway, thanks for joining, you guys. We love you so much. And keep the emails coming.
If you have any questions for us, maybe we'll start answering questions too. So
we should do that.
Hit us up on Instagram or email us on our website, prettyandpunk.com.
Yeah, it'll be so much easier than messaging everybody back solo.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, we love you and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Please subscribe. We love you.